What's up everyone, I'm Ben with the BTC Sessions, and today we're going to be taking a look at Samourai wallet. Arguably the best Bitcoin wallet for mobile, at least in my opinion. So we're going to be taking a look at how to set it up, initial setup. We're going to be taking a look at how to pair it with your own node, for myself via myNode, and we're also going to be taking a look at mobile mixing via Whirlpool to help preserve your Bitcoin privacy. This is your daily session.
Hodl that Bitcoin.
Now, before we dive in, I just want to give a quick shout out to sponsors of the show. We've got LEDN.io. This is a service where you can use your Bitcoin for a few different services, actually. They've got Bitcoin savings account to earn interest on your Bitcoin. They have Bitcoin-backed loans where if you're in a pinch and you need to get your hands on dollars, but you don't want to sell your Bitcoin, you can do that through them by setting it in a dedicated address that you can audit 24/7, and upon repayment of your loan, you will get back, in fact, the exact same UTXO. And finally, they've got B2X, which gives you the same loan mechanism to buy immediately more Bitcoin, doubling your Bitcoin on the spot. If you want to check out any of that, there's a link in the show notes, and that link will actually get you 50 bucks of free Bitcoin if you opt to get a loan with it. And secondly, we've got Coinberry. This has been my go-to as of late for buying Bitcoin in Canada. One of the main drivers for me is the speed at which I can fund my account, super fast with e-transfers. Of course, that's dependent on your bank, but in my experience, it's been very, very quick, typically 20 minutes to fund, and then very easy to buy and then send off to my own wallet, sometimes Samourai wallet, to mix it afterwards after I've used a KYC exchange. But besides the fact, also Coinberry, they've got some good dollar cost averaging tools. They've got autopilot, so you can fund your account and just set intervals at which you're going to pick up Bitcoin and then move it off when you see fit. So if you want to check out Coinberry, there's a link in the show notes down below. And actually, after your first $100 purchase via that link, you'll get 20 bucks for free. With that, let's dive into the video. All right, so here we are. I've already downloaded Samourai from the App Store. Keep in mind, Samourai is Android only, no iOS app. So sorry, iPhone users, you are currently out of luck. And we'll just say that I don't see an iOS app coming out anytime soon. So you may just want to migrate to Android if you want to get take advantage of this. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at opening up the app here. And so you are greeted with a couple things here. You can enable Tor, you can start a new wallet, and up top you've got your little menu, and you can import external wallets, import backups, and it has help for creating wallets. You can connect to your Dojo, and you can restore a wallet. So what we're going to do is we're going to be starting a new wallet, but I do want to show you beforehand how you would go about connecting to your Dojo. A Dojo is a full node that runs an entire copy of the Bitcoin blockchain, so that you do not have to trust Samourai wallet to be running that for you and potentially feeding you bad information. You can do that all on your own. Again, the ethos of Bitcoin, don't trust, verify. So highly recommended for you to do this. I've done a video on myNode, which allows you to run Dojo, but you can also download it yourself and run it yourself, or you can get a Samourai Nodal Dojo box as well. I'll throw in links for all of those down below. But besides the fact, go to the top right, you can hit connect to existing Dojo. At this point, it says there's a little button where you hit, again, connect to existing Dojo, and then you hit scan QR code. And this is where you would scan your Dojo QR code. And I'm going to show you how you would access that via myNode, which is the node that I have running. It's just a simple instance of going to the main screen of your mynode.local. Then you click on the Dojo info. It gives you a Tor address that you go to. You need to have Tor browser in order to access this. but you just put in an admin key and it gives you a QR code to scan, which you would scan via the app, which we just saw. Now, keep in mind, you do not have to do this. I'm just saying it is recommended, and maybe it's going to be a step for you later on, but also to keep in mind that you have to have a brand new wallet at the current time of recording this video in order to pair with your Dojo. You cannot do it later down the line. Besides the fact we're not going to be doing that right now. Now, other than that, you can enable Tor, which again is highly recommended for speed purposes for this video. I'm not going to do that, but very much recommend just click that little toggle and you'll be off to the races, and it will by default be turned on if you're connecting to your own Dojo node. But for now, start a new wallet. Okay, we're gonna create a passphrase for this wallet. For the purposes of this video, I'm picking the worst password ever, which is just password. Do not pick that as your password, but for now, that's what I'm doing. Okay, click I understand and next. And then you're gonna set a PIN code so that nobody can get into your wallet if they just happen to pick up your phone. Again, I'm gonna pick a terrible one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't pick that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, finish. At this point, you're going to be presented with your recovery words. What these are is a backup of your wallet. If you smash your phone, if you delete the app, if you do something stupid and you still have money left on this wallet, all you need is this set of 12 words and you can recover. We saw the option for recovery before we even started this wallet. All you would need to do is plunk in these 12 words. Do not share these with anyone because this is akin to giving somebody a copy of the key to your house. Once they have a copy of this key, they have access to all of the assets that lie within, so they can clear out your wallet no problem. Obviously, I'm showing this on the screen now, but I will not be using this wallet, and this wallet will be swept by the time this goes live, so don't worry about me there. And with that, I'm going to hit I confirm. I've written those down. By the way, don't digitally write those down in a file. Better to write them on pen and paper because digital devices can be compromised, and if somebody gets a hold of this, bad news bears, you will not have a good time. One last tidbit of information regarding your passphrase that I neglected to mention when I first recorded this is that to recover your wallet, you need not only the 12-word phrase given to you for your backup, but also the passphrase that you initially created with the wallet. So in order to recover your funds, you need to put in the 12-word phrase and you need your passphrase. Likewise, if somebody got a hold of your 12-word seed, they would also need the passphrase in order to steal funds with you. So please do not forget the passphrase. There is no recovering it when you lose it or forget it, and you cannot go to Samourai or really anybody to get that passphrase. There is no backups of that. Remember your passphrase, very important. Okay, I'm not going to go into paynims for this video. Just again, beyond the scope of this video, we'll get into it in another one. So I'm going to just hit not interested here. And so here we are on the main screen of the wallet. Let's just take an overview of what we see in front of us. So you have a balance. You can have Bitcoin, or if you tap, sats. Satoshi's the smallest unit of a Bitcoin. There are 100 million sats within a Bitcoin, just for your knowledge. And just so you know, these guys do not have a fiat or dollar equivalent listed in the app. Too much confusion with newcomers. It's better to just value Bitcoin as Bitcoin. One Bitcoin is one Bitcoin. If you want to get a price from somewhere else, then you're just going to have to look online and say, okay, I have this much Bitcoin. What is it in my local currency? Okay. Outside of that, you have a toggle up here, which we're going to get into, but we're not going to touch that yet. We're going to take a look at this little button here. These are your connections. So I have a data connection enabled. I have Tor, which is not currently enabled, but I could also toggle that on here, or I could have at the beginning of setting up this wallet. If you are connected to your Dojo node, this will also be listed here as connected and running. Now, outside of that, you have a scan button. So this little square here will open up your camera to scan QR codes to pay people. And then in the top right here, you also have all of your additional, more advanced settings. So you can sweep a private key. So if you have a private key, maybe a paper wallet, you could sweep that. You can export a backup of your wallet. We'll get into Unspent Outputs in a moment. You can spend Whirlpool postmix, and we'll touch on that in a moment when we get to the privacy stuff. Cahoots, we'll touch on that. Support is obvious, just support. And then your settings. And within the settings, you have settings for your wallet. A lot of different stuff here. There's only one thing that I would like to set up in a moment here. By the way, you can secure erase your wallet here. You can change your PIN. There's a lot of different stuff in here, but a lot of this is more advanced than I'm going to be touching on. The one thing I do want to adjust here is transactions and something called spend using RBF. Essentially what this means is if you send a transaction and you have a very low fee attached to it and it's taking longer than you would like, you have the option to bump the fee very easily within the app. I'm going to turn that on. Outside of that, I'm not going to touch anything else. We're just going to go back, and I'm not going to touch any of the networking stuff right now. We're just going to leave that. Now, the main parts of what you're going to be looking at in this wallet typically is going to be to do with this little plus in the bottom right hand corner. When you tap that, you get a little pop-up menu that has Whirlpool, paynims, which we're not going to touch on in this video, and then your basic send and receive buttons. So now that we've had an overview of the entire wallet, let's get into the basic functions of receiving and sending Bitcoin. So to receive Bitcoin, very simple. You're going to hit plus in the bottom right hand corner. You're going to hit the receive button, and this is going to bring you up to this screen here. Now you see a couple different things. There are sharing options up here, so you can tap that and it's going to share the address to whatever app you like. We're not going to be doing that right now. The other options are for somebody who also has a Bitcoin wallet to scan your QR code. This gives them all the information they need to send you money. Or you can tap and this will copy your address. It does give you a little warning that there could be privacy implications here. Other applications might be able to see this address and link it to you. But I mean, if you're texting somebody an address for them to send you money, then you're going to need to copy that. Anyways, I'm going to hit yes, and I've now copied that address, which we will use in a moment. Outside of that, if we just tap on advanced, you have a few other options. You can set a preset amount so that when somebody scans or taps on, gets pasted the address, it will give them the information of how much money you're requesting. Although I'm not going to set that right now. You can set it in Bitcoin or Satoshis. And you can also change the address type for your receiving address. If you tap down here, there's SegWit compatibility, SegWit native, and legacy. Now, for the most part, you don't really need to know too much about this. It defaults to SegWit native, which is just a Bitcoin address that starts with a B. SegWit compatibility starts with a 3, and legacy starts with a 1. Now, the main difference between a lot of these is how much you're going to be paying in fees because of how much data it takes up on the Bitcoin blockchain. The most efficient way to send is the default, which is BEC32, which is the ones that start with BC1 at the beginning of the address. If you have issues with somebody scanning your address here and it's not working, it could be that their wallet doesn't recognize this, in which case, if you go to address type, click on compatibility because it's a compatibility issue. Their wallet may be slightly outdated and they may not recognize the address. That's besides the point, and again, a little advanced for some of you, but all you really need to know is you can either scan or copy. We've already copied. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get back out of this. I'm gonna open up a different Bitcoin wallet on my phone so that we can send in some money. So this is Blue Wallet, and again, a very basic Bitcoin wallet that is easy to send from. I'm just gonna hit send. I'm going to paste in that address that we copied from Samourai. We're gonna send all of the Bitcoin in here, which is, there's like $100 and something worth. I'm gonna hit next and send it off. So 0.0195 Bitcoin. I'm going to hit send now, and we're good to go. And so that was just sent off. I should see it in a moment here within blue. Okay, that was sent a few seconds ago. And now we'll go back to Samourai. Oh, and there's my notification saying, hey, you've just received Bitcoin. And if you're not seeing it here, you can swipe down and it will show up with an updated balance. So there's our updated balance. We can see again in Bitcoin or tap to see in Satoshis. It does say pending. So Bitcoin transactions typically are settled in a time frame of around 10 minutes, depending on how busy the network happens to be. If I tap on the transaction, I get more data. I get a transaction ID. I get the time that it was sent. Now, once the transaction is officially added to the Bitcoin blockchain, I will get one confirmation. And after new sets of transactions or new blocks of transactions are added to the blockchain, I will see 1, then 2, then 3 confirmations under status. Eventually, it'll just say confirmed and it'll have a number of how many confirmations. I get to see what the fee rate was from the other wallet and the total of the miner fee paid, and also options to boost the transaction fee. I can actually do that myself. So I'm not going to do that now. And if I tap up here, it's going to take me to an external site that gives me even more information on the transaction. Now, once this is officially confirmed, it will be spendable and we can play around a little bit more. So we'll come back and practice sending Bitcoin once this is done. So it was a little bit of time and we can now see that the transaction has confirmed. If I tap on it, there's actually a lot of confirmations that happened very quickly there. So we've got 4 confirmations on the transaction. It is now spendable. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be sending a little bit of this Bitcoin out. All I need is an address for which to send it to. So there's a couple ways I can do this. First of all, if I were to be sending to somebody, I would go down to the plus sign in the bottom right and I'd hit the send button. And at this point, I can either paste in an address or I can tap that square once again to scan a QR code if there was one in front of me. Now, I don't have a QR code in front of me, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go copy an address from Blue Wallet that we were in before and get it from there. So I'm just going to hit receive. And again, I'm going to tap and copy that address and go right back. Okay, so all I need to do now is paste in the address that I copied. And then I need to designate how much I'd like to send over. So I want to keep a decent amount in this wallet. So I'm going to send over 0.004 Bitcoin, which auto translates to 400,000 Satoshis. Now at this point, I just wanted to draw attention to a few things. Number one, if I wanted to send the total amount, I could simply tap on total available amount and it would fill it in that field. Now there are some other options here. Ricochet. What Ricochet does is it adds additional hops in between you and the destination address. So it would hop not just straight to this BC1 address that I pasted in, it would hop through multiple other addresses to kind of obfuscate the source of the funds, or at least add plausible deniability to it. Why might you want to do this? Well, some exchanges online or some online services look back a certain number of hops, and if you were on a website that they don't like, perhaps some sort of like an online gambling site, or really there's a lot of different things that could be on there, they just won't let you trade, and they might even shut down your account and cut you off entirely, which I think is entirely unfair. So if you know you're using a service like this, Ricochet can be useful for you. Another thing that you can do is use Cahoots. What Cahoots does is it adds enhanced privacy by making it look like a coin join and kind of wrecking the link between you and your coins from this spend. So what I mean by that is it combines your coins with either more of your other own coins, with somebody else's coins, or with coins in a mix from Samourai, which we'll get into a little bit more details on this. But more or less, just know that it will help add privacy in the midst of a spend. Now, we're not going to do this here. We are going to take a look at Whirlpool mixing in a moment. Now, beyond that, to send this out, I'm going to hit review transaction. At this point, I can choose my fee. It gives me a quick review of where it's going, how much I'm sending, and then my transaction priority. Now, this is only going to cost me 162 Satoshis to send. But as you slide, you can see that gets adjusted, and it lets me know roughly how long it may be. So even only sending 2.35 sats per byte, it's going to be about 6 blocks. So it could be an hour before it's spendable. And you can kind of move it up. And this is dynamic based on how busy the network is. Even the top fee is 4.5 Satoshis per byte, which is not very expensive, as you can see over here. So there's not really much of a priority behind this. So I'm just going to leave it somewhere in the middle there. I'm going to, oh, and by the way, there is a further option for privacy here via Stonewall. If it were available, I only have a set amount that just came directly in from another wallet. So this is not available, but you can add Stonewall protection, which, as it says here, increases deniability and reduces linkability between inputs of this transaction. So just more to help you with your privacy here. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to hit send, and it says, do you want to send this? I'm going to hit yes, and it goes around and around, and once it comes back, boom, off it goes. And I should see that pop up into Blue Wallet. Let's just navigate over there so we can see it. I'll close that, give this a little refresh by swiping down. There we go. And a few seconds ago, we can see it incoming. It's not confirmed yet, but we know it's there. Okay. And in our main screen, we see pending, outgoing, all of the details of our transaction like last time around. And yeah, that is pretty much it for sending and receiving. One more thing I wanted to touch on here, because this is not yet finished, is I have the option down below to hit boost transaction fee. And that's the thing I turned on earlier, the RBF, the replace by fee. If I tap this, it brings up a thing and it says, this transaction is awaiting confirmation. Please select an option. Do you want to increase the transaction fee? I can tap that and it'll auto bump up my transaction fee to get it cleared even faster than before. I don't need to do that right now. I'm not in a rush, so I'm just gonna hit cancel and we'll go back. Now we can dive into more. Now, before we dive into the next section and look at Whirlpool, I just wanted to clarify things a little bit around the question of whether or not Bitcoin itself is anonymous and what's actually going around in the background when you're executing, receiving, and sending transactions multiple times in and out of wallets. Now, first of all, Bitcoin is not anonymous. The blockchain is fully open on the internet. Anybody can look up any transaction and see the history of certain coins and kind of draw things together. In fact, there are companies that specialize in this and they sell their services to other companies that are worried about compliance and worried about perhaps getting fined by not doing enough to ensure that money laundering and other nefarious activities are not happening on their platforms. But because of this, some overreach can happen, and so it's up to you to decide whether or not you are going to try and break those links between you and your coins to preserve your privacy and prevent malicious people from potentially coming after you and your coins. So, first thing to know is a lot of wallets just show Bitcoin as a balance, but that is largely not the case. What happens when you receive Bitcoin multiple times is every received transaction is actually a separate, more or less, chunk of Bitcoin sitting in your wallet, kind of like an actual physical wallet. So if somebody gives you $5 and $10 and $20, it's not all combined into a $35 chunk. You have a 20, you have a 10, and you have a 5. And so much the same, Bitcoin is actually these pieces of coin that you've received. Now the difference is when you spend out of that wallet. When you go to spend, you're actually destroying some coins and creating coins of new value. So another way to think of it is it's kind of like receiving different pieces of gold. And when you go to spend the gold, you actually melt down all of the gold that you want to spend and smelt new pieces of gold from that. So when you melt it all down, it becomes indecipherable which piece was which, but you can see that certain pieces have been combined. And when some of those pieces come from something like a KYC exchange, like even the one I mentioned at the beginning, like Coinberry, I'm registered with them. They know an email address, a name, where I'm from, all of that stuff. And so when I pulled coins off of that exchange, those coins have my identity associated with it. And so in order to break that link, I can go through this Whirlpool process, this smelting of new coins, with multiple other people. So just know that coins have histories, and if you have a wallet that just shows a balance, it's not exactly showing you the whole story, that there are individual pieces of Bitcoin that all have histories to them and histories of ownership to them. So with that, let's dive into Whirlpool and how it can help you preserve your anonymity with Bitcoin. To start using Whirlpool, all you're going to do is you're going to go down to the bottom right, tap that plus button as per usual, and you're going to tap on the Whirlpool button in the top right. And from there, it's going to take you to your Whirlpool screen, and it's going to show at first a 0 balance. And that's because your actual regular Bitcoin wallet here from Samourai is different from the balances held in your Whirlpool wallet. Those are segregated because these would be anonymized coins with no links to yourself, whereas the coins coming in from outside sources into your regular wallet, well, Samourai has no way of knowing whether those coins were anonymous to start with or not, so they assume not. Now, going back to Whirlpool, what you can do now is, much like in the regular portion of the wallet, the important button is down in the bottom right. So if you tap the Whirlpool button, you're going to get an option to mix UTXOs. And UTXOs are those little chunks of coin that you may have received from exterior wallets. And here it says you're going to select which ones you'd like to mix. You may have multiple. Now remember, I just received one solid transaction. I haven't received multiple ones. Otherwise, it would show more than one chunk of Bitcoin sitting here. So I'm going to tap on that, and I'm going to hit next. Now it's going to say, well, what's your cycle priority? How quickly do you need these coins to be moved around? I'm not in a huge rush here, so I'm just going to stay normal, but I could go back and forth. And what this does is it changes your Satoshis per byte for the actual transaction fee. And actually, because the fees aren't very high right now, I'm actually going to go with high. Now, depending on the amount of Bitcoin you have in your wallet, you are eligible to participate in different pools. Now, I've only got 0.015 Bitcoin in here, and there's 3 different pool sizes at the time of recording this video. There's 0.01, 0.05, and half a Bitcoin. Well, I'm only eligible for the smallest one, so I'm just going to go ahead and tap that. And it gives me a breakdown of the fees. Now, there are fees associated with using Whirlpool. There is a flat fee of 0.0005 Bitcoin for this pool. That changes depending on the size of the pool, but is a flat fee. And it's important to know that it doesn't matter the amount of Bitcoin that you put through this pool. So you could put through a huge, I could have like half a Bitcoin in here and I could enter it all into the 0.01 pool. I still have a flat fee there. Also, it gets continuously remixed over and over again until you opt to spend it out of Whirlpool. So, it's nice and easy. You get to see it flat fee and you don't have to think about what's happening after the fact. So I'm going to hit review cycle details. I see, okay, well, this is the amount going in. The pool is 0.01. All of that information is down below, the pool fee, total, all of that. And I'm going to get back some change, some unmixed change in around the ballpark of 0.005 Bitcoin. That all looks good to me. So I'm going to hit begin cycle and then doxic change. This is where they give you a little bit of warning about your change, how your change from this process could potentially still compromise your anonymity. So it says the change output from this transaction will be tagged. Block it to make it unspendable. If so, the amount will not be reflected in the total balance, but will be visible within the wallet by consulting the list of unspents. So essentially, it would hide the change away and not allow you to spend it in concert with coins that were already mixed. Okay, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to hit yes, and then we'll take a look at where that is later on. And at this point, it's going to broadcast a transaction to become part of the mix, the next cycle. Okay, and now we can see I have a total Whirlpool balance. My unmixed coins are right here, and it says it's queued and ready to go. So as this goes through the process, we'll update and see as it's mixed afterwards. Once the sent transaction into Whirlpool has been confirmed, you'll see that it has joined a mix. And once that mix is complete, we'll see it as being finished out of the queue here. So once a mix has been successfully achieved, we'll notice a few things. Number one, we'll no longer have a queue down below with anything waiting to be mixed. And then up top, we're going to see our total Whirlpool balance, which is a sum of the premix balance, which are coins waiting to be mixed, of which there are none right now, and the post-mix balance, which are coins that have been successfully mixed, giving us our total. Now, from here, we're going to go back out, and this takes us back to our regular Samourai wallet interface. We can see the outgoing transaction. That was everything that came in minus the test send that we did, and that was all going to the Whirlpool. Now to access our mixed coins, not including the change, which we'll take a look at in a moment, not including the doxic change, we simply need to go to the top left and click on the little Samourai icon, and that takes us to our Whirlpool wallet. And this is all of the safe mixed coins that have no deterministic links to our identities from before. And at this point, in order to send out of this wallet, all we need to do is bottom right hand corner, just like normal. And the only option we get from that pop-up menu is to send. Now this is just like our regular send screen. Of course, you've got options for post-mix tools as well. So you've got Stonewall and Stowaway, both of which typically you'd be in conjunction with another Samourai wallet user. So we're not going to be utilizing those right now. But we are going to go over to Blue Wallet. I already have an address pulled up, so I'm just going to copy that. We'll pop back over to Samourai, and simply we're going to paste in that address. Then we're going to pick an amount. I'm going to send out half of this amount, 0.005. Good. And then I'm going to hit review transaction. This shows me that I am sending to this address 500,000 sats or 0.005 Bitcoin, and then I can choose my transaction priority. I'll put it somewhere in the middle for right now, and then I'm going to go ahead and hit send, yes, and off it goes. At this point, I can see that I have a pending outgoing transaction of 0.005 Bitcoin minus the transaction fee, and I have a remaining balance in my Whirlpool, again not deterministically linked to my previous identity from the coins that I had previously sent into the wallet, and I'm good to go. Everything is all set, and I've just done my first mix and send out of Samourai wallet. So what about that change that we had left over from the mix that wasn't large enough to go into its own 0.01 Bitcoin Whirlpool mix? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our main interface. We're going to go up to the top right hand corner, the three little dots. We're going to go to Show Unspent Outputs. And here, what we can see is we can see the doxic change, the change that are still linked to the coins that were sent into the wallet that still have deterministic links, especially because they did come from an online exchange. So what you can do with these is you can accumulate these and eventually utilize them in a Whirlpool round and leave them as unspendable until then. If I actually click on it, I can see the exact amount, the address it's sitting in, and the status as blocked. And I have the options in the settings in the top right to go in and I can change the spending status. If I tap on that, I can mark as spendable. Now I have access up here. Once it's spendable, I can actually tap and I can say spend, and that will spend the entire UTXO itself if I want, or I can spend a portion of it, but I know specifically that coming from this UTXO, this chunk of Bitcoin sitting in my wallet, that it could be privacy compromising by moving this around. If I move it somewhere, or if I was previously identified through these coins, wherever it goes to can be looked upon and linked to myself. So it gives you the option of moving those knowingly or keeping them so that you won't utilize them accidentally and compromise your privacy. Or you can gradually accumulate some more Bitcoin into your wallet and utilize this into another Whirlpool round if you so choose. But it is there to be spendable, and it is marked as doxic change. And now that I've marked it as spendable and I refresh, it is now showing up in my main balance of my Samourai wallet, but not, if I tap here, but not in my post-mix transactions over in the Whirlpool. So it keeps it segregated from mixed to unmixed on either side of the wallet. I hope you've enjoyed this video walking through setting up using Samourai and going through the Whirlpool mixing features. Now, of course, I was not able to cover absolutely everything in here. Some of those post-mix spending features I was very much glossing over because this video will be long enough as it is, but I do encourage you to further dive into some of those features, and if you do have questions, you can leave them down below, or you can always hit up the guys from Samourai via Twitter. They've got Telegram groups for all of this, so be sure to check them out. They're very happy to help with any of that. If you enjoyed this video, please do hit like, subscribe, and share as always. And of course, if you want to help out the show in another way, you can always hit up the sponsors that I mentioned down below. That was LEDN and Coinberry, both those links, again, in the show notes. And with that, I am out. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time for your daily session.